Every writer has their own process for approaching writing, and in this video, I'm going to share some of my thoughts on it. Welcome back to Writer's Theory. I'm James Winterthorn, and in this video, I'm going to share my approach to fiction writing, the drafting process generally. This is such a broad topic. I suppose I could talk about anything in general, but I'm going to talk about how I approach drafting. So before I get into my approach to writing, if you've watched the series on Ghost Horizon, writing and editing that book, you'll know that I have a tendency to want to rush to the end and be done with the various stages. So, like, get done drafting as soon as possible. And then how can I get done editing as soon as possible? And how can I just get done publishing as soon as possible? Well, this approach tends to leave a lot of errors in the manuscript. And at first, I was okay with some things getting through, with the idea that this was supposed to be a fast and easy project. But I ultimately decided that this should be it should be as polished as possible. So instead of rushing to get it published, since we are self-publishing the book, we're doing a last thorough read through to find any errors that are that may still persist. So we're just cleaning it up a little bit more before we submit it to Amazon KDP. So that's where we're at in that process. Once that's done, we'll of course celebrate and have some fun with the new published book. But I will then take that to 11 Labs, and I will do some work with that software to create an audiobook of Ghost Horizon. I've never done this before, not creating an audiobook, and I hope that it comes out well. The idea is that I'm creating this so I can present a low-cost option for writers that would like to see their work published and in both printed, digitally or printed, and in a audio version. So we're going to go through that, and that's the update on Ghost Horizon. We should see the published version very soon, so stay tuned. When it comes to my approach to writing fiction, I have a tendency to think that my way of writing is the way of writing, and I just know that's not true, that how you write is going to be different than how I write. And I can try to prescribe my techniques and methodology all day long, and you might learn something from that, but it's ultimately not going to be your process. So when I approach writing, I like to have a mix of preparation and being in the writer's zone while writing. So what this means for me is I will outline a little bit. I won't go super detailed, but I'll have like a chapter outline. I'll have a little more detail. I'll know who my characters are, but I'm not super outlining. I'm not going very detailed into the story before I start drafting it. I find that to be too much work up front, and I find it to be paralyzing in the writing process. So I don't do a lot of pre-work. I do enough to be inspired. And then during the writing process, I let my imagination run. And so those characters live in this world. I know where they want to get to. And then I have them go on this adventure, and I just let happen whatever happens. And then maybe I need to go back and change that in the editing process. Or maybe they go on a different adventure than I expect, and it becomes its own story. This second part, where it becomes its own story, happens for me more times than not when the story is long enough. It happened in Chords of Fate, happened a little bit in Ghost Horizon. And I love that experience. I love when it the story takes on a life of its own, and I'm kind of witness to it, even though I'm the one writing it. That is one of my favorite experiences. It is one of the things about writing that I love the most. But I know that that might not be everybody's approach. But ultimately, my attempt when writing is to write from the subconscious. I want to get into the writer's zone and let this world that I'm building just kind of play in front of me. And I just type as fast as I can to capture this story that's happening. Now, that can only be so effective. Like at some point, I'm going to have to carry my plot forward in the way that I had planned, even if my characters took this diversionary route off of my original plot idea, in which case then I need to be more deliberate about where the story's going. But once I know those characters, I know the world, I'm able to get in the zone, I can control that a little bit better and get back on track with the plot. Or I use a device called a narrative bridge, where I will write a short piece of prose that kind of explains, it's like an exposition that explains how characters got from point A to point B. And then I'll mark that exposition to be rewritten later. So it's more narrative driven versus explaining what happened. So when I get off course, just rambling like I'm doing in this video, I will write a short piece, narrative bridge, back to the plot, keep writing, and then I'll clean it all up at the end. So I like to have a very loose drafting process. I enjoy that. I think a lot of writers enjoy that. I got the idea of subconscious writing from Ayn Rand in her books and lectures. I saw similar ideas in Stephen King's On Writing, being in the writer zone. So I know this is a common way of writing, but I know it's not everyone's way of writing. So that's a brief overview of my writing process. Nothing earth-shattering here. This is just how I like to approach writing. The reason I wanted to make this video is not so much that I can share how I feel about it, is that I want to know what your approach to drafting and the writing process is. So in the comments below, just leave me a brief description on how you like to approach writing fiction. And I'm very curious to see the different aspects that people take when it comes to telling their stories. But that's really all I have to share. Ghost Horizon will be out soon. We're going to start on the audiobook after that. I also have the Writer's Series Fiction Bootcamp about to be launched. So look forward to that. Lots of things happening here. I know there haven't been a lot of videos in the past couple weeks, but I've been busy for sure. So you can look forward to some future content. If you liked this video, you want some more writing related content, or you want to follow my writing journeys here on YouTube, well, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.